Hi there and welcome back to a brand new day in the studio. So in today's video, we're going to be using titanium white, flake white, burnt umber, alizarin permanent, cadmium red medium, yellow ochre, sap green, ultramarine blue, and ivory black. And what we have here on the corner is our medium. So I'm going to start off with a size 4 synthetic filbert brush. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix up a very basic value scale of flesh tone. So today we're going to be continuing the first color pass, and we're going to move on to the arms, so the hands and the arms. And we're going to start off very simple in terms of the color. And we're going to prioritize the hue, we're going to prioritize the value. So we're going to prioritize drawing and value with the addition of very simple flesh tone. So that right there is going to be our darkest dark, pretty warm combination of burnt umber, ivory black, and a little bit of alizarin permanent. Now we're going to move on a little bit of burnt umber, cadmium red medium, yellow ochre. Let's put in a little more of our medium. So our medium is liquid original. I'm sorry if my voice is a little bit different today. I'm feeling a little under the weather, but it's okay. Painting makes me feel so much better. So a very simple combination of the flake white, cadmium red medium, and some of the cooler colors just to calm down the heat. And I like to use flake white in the mid-range of the value scale, mainly because I can use, as you're noticing, more of it without raising the value too much, which also adds a nicer body to the oil paint. Now we're going to put in a little bit of titanium white, see how much higher the values can go with the titanium white, and just a little bit of titanium white. So I'm going to choose to keep the hue variations at a minimal. So I'm going to look for a very basic flesh tone similar to the one that we had for the portrait, and we're going to use that for the arms. Keeping the hue variation at a minimal is going to help us prioritize what we're after, which is the structure and the value. But by introducing this very simple flesh tone, we're going to be able to develop more advanced color once this layer dries. So I think that ought to be about good. And here is an image of our model Steve, and I'm going to keep a picture of him to the top left corner of your screen so you can refer to it as the painting develops. Just keep in mind, however, this is a very large painting, so the camera is going to have to be at an angle with respect to the painting such that I don't block the footage. So just keep that in mind. And at the end of the session, I will show you what the painting looks like with the camera pretty much front and center. I've been doing that the past few days. And another thing, I'm going to try and keep today a little bit shorter, just because the last few videos that I've been uploading have been kind of a little bit longer. So I think today we're going to pick up the pace a little bit for the hand, or for the arm and the hands. So really, the most delicate or intricate area around here is going to be the bony structure of the elbow. So let's go ahead and address that. And again, I'm just taking right from the palette. Those simple flesh tones. Not terribly worried about getting the right color just yet. So for the shadow, it's going to be a little bit darker. And I think in nature, it's probably going to be a little bit cooler. So I'm going to throw in a little bit of ultramarine blue. Just a tiny little bit of ultramarine blue there. It also brings the value down a little bit, which is pretty much something we kind of want. So there we have that dark shadow for the elbow. Here we have this little corner of the, I think, what's it called? What's it called? Olecranon or something? The fancy term for the elbow. Whatever. Let's just call it the elbow. It's going to be a little bit of a plane going all the way down here. Very simple plane there. Then there's going to be a little bit of a form overlap. So this plane is facing the light quite a bit, and this one right above it facing the light a little less. Then as we roll upwards around here, it's going to get lighter. Very, very simple. Now there's going to be another little intricate form here. So this plane right here is tapering away from the light. Very simple, just like that. And now, directly below it, it's actually going to be facing the light a little bit more. So it's going to get lighter right around here. A little bit of a form overlap, but of course the structure itself is a little more intricate than just little simple chops. So I'm going to put in a little bit of a curve right there. A little bit more nuance to that shape. There we go. There, I keep saying that. There we go. But anyway, there we go. I'm going to soften this edge. And again, I'm going to try and push this value change a little more than I had before. I'm sorry the canvas keeps bouncing. It's just the nature of a large canvas. Alright, so now we're working our way up towards the light. Right around here, it's actually going to get lighter than that. Just taking right off the palette. No need to worry about getting the right color just yet. Use the first color pass as a way to see from a different perspective, a different viewpoint. So again, we're observing all of these new planes with the superposition of the flesh tone, the basic flesh tone, over top of the monochromatic underpainting. And look how quickly we can get the illusion of form to read. Now, of course, in the end, it'll be much more intricate than that, but we're gonna take it one step at a time, yet move a little bit faster today. Alright, so facing the light a little bit less down here. Remember, this area is going to approach the shadow, pretty much in shadow right as it rolls across the bottom. And then we're going to have a little area where one form meets another form, and we're going to have an accent. Very simple. Simple little accent mark there. And now we pretty much have, at least we've established some of these major planes for the arm. And let's just throw in a little bit more flavor to this plane, meaning I'm just pushing it darker. That's all I mean. Just to push the effective form, letting the brush kind of squiggle around a little bit. Now it's going to get a little bit lighter up here as we approach the wrist. And then the wrist right here, there's going to be quite a bit of light. Very simple little light shape right there. Flick of the wrist there. Very simple. And it's going to get a little bit darker as we roll up towards here. Picture yourself as a little ant, discovering the forms, discovering the surface. And the ant says, oh, okay, I'm now moving up this plane. And then once it reaches the top, here's what's going to happen. Once it reaches the top, it's going to get lighter because that area, again, is facing the lights quite a bit more. And we can even push it a little bit more. Just like that. And now, as we look across the side, we're going to encounter an area that was kind of causing me a little bit of trouble, which is this area. Is it in light? Is it in shadow? Who knows? The only way I can really figure that out is when I go back to work from the live model, just like kind of hold a paintbrush right here and cast a shadow on it. And if I see the shadow of this paintbrush on his arm, now I'm talking about the live model, if I do this and I see the cast shadow on his arm, that means that this area is in light and not in shadow. And if I can remember, next week when we go and work from life, when we work from life again next Tuesday, I will, hopefully if I remember, I'll do that little test. But anyway, I think tomorrow we're going to venture off into the still life and have some fun with the still life shapes. One step at a time. I'm really trying to bring the experience of being here in the studio every single day. I really want to bring that experience to you. Soon enough, wait for it, soon enough I want to have an online school, or let's say an online apprenticeship program. But before that, I really have to get my Patreon finished. Still working on that. I definitely need to get that running. So a little bit brighter there. That plane is facing the light quite a bit. So it's going to be much brighter. Then there's going to be a very slow curve right here, so it's going to taper. Very, very subtle, ever so slightly. The forms will taper. And now, as we imagine that little ant exploring the surface, there's going to be quite a definitive plane change right there. So the ant is going to discover, oh, okay, this little area is kind of leaning inwards like that, as opposed to this area that's more flat. So let's go ahead and put in that color. Super simple. We're keeping these shapes super simple. It can get very complicated very quickly, and there's no need for that right now. So for the knuckles, we're going to put a little bit of a sharper edge, a little bit darker. Let's get a little darker. A little bit of an edge here. And see, that might be too hot. So let's cool down that heat with a little bit of ultramarine blue. There we go. Neutralizing the heat. How about this? Count how many times in this video I'm going to say there we go. I'd be curious to know. Gotta keep things simple. And you know what I'm going to say, right? Keep your shape simple and easy. Simple and easy. If you keep your shape simple and easy for you to understand, come on, finish my sentence. If you keep your shape simple and easy for you to understand, when the time comes to make changes, and I'm sure they will at some point in this painting, those changes will be simple and easy to manage. A little bit of a softer edge down here. And again, this is a very troublesome area for me, so I'm going to go ahead and say that, just kind of take a stab at it. This area is in light, and the knuckles are just barely in shadow. And let's just say that's the case for now. And if it isn't, we'll change it. No problem. That's the most relaxing thing about this type of painting process. You're working in layers. You don't have to worry about getting everything correct right from the start. You really don't. You build up to it. So as you noticed, I added a little more cadmium red medium for the plane change, dividing the knuckles. Now it's going to get a little bit lighter, a little bit brighter as the planes start to angle inwards towards the fingers. Yep, keeping it very simple. And I'm keeping myself at a pretty good distance away from the painting, just because hands in general, you know me. You know I struggle with hands. So I'm going to play it safe with the hands. I'm not going to spend a terribly long time trying to render the hands. Instead, I'm going to focus on simple shape and relate each one of those shapes to one another. And I'm just recharging the light area of the palette, that's all. Just using a very simple combination of the cadmium red medium, the yellow ochre, and both of the whites. Alright, so let's look for the light. Okay, so boom, right there. There's going to be a little bit of light right there in the corner of the finger. And then the next light to look for, right there. A little bit of light on the finger. And let's throw in a little bit more warmth. A little bit darker. Boom, right there, the side of the finger. And let's go ahead and get a different brush, just so that we don't have to start cleaning off this brush. So it's going to get darker, and here's the back side of the corner. Back side of the finger there, it's going to get darker. It's going to get even darker still. To about there. See that? Very simple. Simple light, shadow, and halftone. And it already looks like the finger is existing in three-dimensional space. Alright, so at a very far, well, at a glance, I see that like all of these light shapes are just kind of blending in together. So I'm just going to paint it like that, the way I see it at a distance. I'm going to stand back and I'm going to squint. And when I'm standing back and I'm squinting, I'm really looking for the most emphatic dark. And the most emphatic dark is there. Right there. A little bit of a dark shape. Right there. And even the tiniest bit of light. There. Or shadow. You know what I mean. Alright, so now we're going to put in a little shadow shape for the finger. For the pinky finger. Very, very simple. See how quickly we're getting the form to emerge with the usage of very simple color on top of the monochromatic underpainting. There we go. One form is meeting another form. And what happens? You know what happens. There's an accent mark. Little dark brush stroke that you put in there, just so it looks like one form is turning into another form. And that's it. It's really all there is to it. Just simple understanding of basic form, basic structure, keeping the emphasis on the value and the drawing, and we can have a hand emerge from the canvas with very, very simple and easy brush strokes. And let's not forget there is another hand. So yeah, I kind of forgot to re-photograph his hand in this position. Whoops. But that leads to another very interesting idea. And the fact is, we're not copying the photo reference. The photo reference is different. The thumb is over here, the pointer finger is over here. You're seeing that on the corner of your screen. And that just, for some reason, I didn't want that. I wanted another diagonal or vertical element pointing away from our model. So, whereas these are pointing towards our model, we have a little suggestion of a diagonal element pointing away from the model in this direction. So anyway, let's go ahead and fill in a very simple and easy first color pass for this hand. So it's going to be lighter over here, and we're going to start off with the lighter region of the value scale. Well, middle lighter. You'll see what I mean. So I'm letting some of the transparency underneath show through, and now we're going to put in some of these lighter planes. Let's think about some Sargent brush strokes right now. You know, I think that Sargent was a trickster, and I mean that in the best possible way. Sargent was a trickster, so he spent a very long time on those hands that you see in the John Singer Sargent paintings that look like they were painted in like, I don't know, 10 minutes, 5 minutes. He repainted those hands so many times, and you hear so many stories about that. And you know, it's because Sargent was after a style. He was after a particular look that he wanted in his painting. And the way to achieve that is to understand the same kind of things that we're looking for. Where is the light hitting the areas the most? What are the shapes? What are the positions of the shapes in relation to the light? And that's it. I mean, it's really like 95% of the work. It's not the hue changes, it's not the changes in color that are going to do it. It's going to be the value. What do you value? Alright, so a little bit darker over here. And again, I did say that today was going to be a little bit shorter. So I'm going to try to keep to that promise. So after standing back, the most emphatic dark to my eye, right there. And I'm using this finger from the, this grouping of fingers from the photo reference because they're actually pretty similar to the ones that I painted in. Now this one I'm going to have to imagine. So with a little more cadmium red medium into the darker middle tone region of the palette. Just like with this one, see how the light's kind of like creating a shadow here? Yeah, there's going to be a similar one over here. For the pointer finger, you know, it's starting to look more like a thumb. So might be running into some trouble with this hand. Yes, I know. I probably shouldn't have edited what I was looking at. See, I struggle with hands. And this is me trying to bring the reality of painting to you, not just a finished looking painting. I really want to bring the reality of being here in the studio, and hopefully in a fun kind of way. You know, this is a lot of fun. I mean, sometimes it's really, really stressful, but you know, it's all worth it in the end. It's really rewarding to put so many hours into a painting and see it emerge. So it's going to get a little bit darker over here and a little bit warmer as the planes start to angle away from the light. And we're going to push the heat in this little area just a little bit. So a little more cadmium red medium. And for fingernails, I'm going to hold back on those for a little bit. It's not the fingernail that creates the hand, it's the fingers and the palm of the hand. And it's the structure, okay? Nails can be added in afterwards. So right now, what we're seeing in terms of the overall structure is that there may be some trouble with that finger. And you know, I didn't really see that in the underpainting stage. It was not as evident to me that there's something wrong there. And you know, I don't really know quite what's wrong with it just yet, so I'm going to experiment with it. Going to move this shape like, you know how the thumb kind of curves, and this finger doesn't curve as much as the thumb. So I'm going to straighten this out a little bit. See if that does anything. Might not do anything, but you know, let's just try. A little bit of a lighter shape here where his fingernail would be. And so like fingernails and things like that can be painted in with single brush strokes. Just single brush strokes. And you know, there'd probably be a little more light around here, and I'm actually seeing it in the photo reference. So again, the superposition of the very simple color onto the monochromatic underpainting really does give you quite an advantage in drawing and value, because you're seeing from a completely different perspective now, just the illumination of that light, of that color onto the monochromatic underpainting. So a little more of a shape here. for the knuckle. Super simple. And next Tuesday, I'm going to leave a note for myself somewhere. So those of you that have been watching the videos daily, you know that we're taking this large painting to my portrait painting group on Tuesday mornings. And yeah, I'm working from life there on Tuesday morning. So I'm going to leave a note for myself somewhere to re-photograph or even just re-examine this hand. Maybe we'll do the corrections from life. You know, in an ideal world, I'd be painting from life all the time. But, you know, there are things such as space, schedules, modeling fees. One day, I will be able to have my own models come into the studio every single day. You know, and we'll be able to interview them, talk to them, and make some interesting content. I see a lot of stuff in the future of these videos. And once I finish that Patreon account, you can be a part of it. Just gotta finish that thing. So it's for the fingernails, just so it's not too, mannequin-like. I'm gonna put in brush strokes, single brush stroke, or I guess a group of them, but let's make it look like a single brush stroke. How about that? And let's just, you know, when in doubt, blur it out. So it's going to be just a simple little smudge of light, but at a distance, it'll read. Ideally. Just a little smudge there. Kind of funny, we're finger painting the fingers. Alright, so I think that's going to be about it. So as promised, today's video is a little bit more short and sweet. Just very simple, plain changes. So I don't know what we'll title this video. Something along the lines of first color pass for the hands, but in a very simple and easy way. So that being said, I hope that today's video helps you out. I wish you the best in all of your artwork, and as always, I'm trying to bring the experience of being here, of being in the studio and working every single day towards creating these classical realist paintings. So I wish you the best in all of your artwork, and I'll be back again in another 24 hours. And as promised, I'm going to show you what the painting looks like front and center, but this is not quite it. See how there's not too much of a glare going on in the painting? Yeah, check this out. Yep, seriously, the glare just keeps getting worse with each sitting. Oh, but that's all right. I mean, that's the nature of oil paintings. And you know, it's kind of beautiful sometimes, though, the painting shimmering and reflecting the light. Not the best for filming painting though, but in any case, this is what the painting looks like, as close to front and centered and with the least amount of distortion as I could possibly get it. So now you're seeing at a distance that the hands are at least reading a little bit more like hands with those simple and easy shapes that we painted in for the first color pass of the hand. That being said, I really hope that this video helps you out, and I wish you the best, and I'll be back again very soon.